This is substitution. Make sure to annotate everything that you have here. Also, I would open your book to page 347. That's the homework we're going to be working on. At the end of this, I'll be giving some homework tips to get you guys started. And make sure to take the Edmodo quiz. So first, let's look at substitution. Remember, we're still talking about a system of equations. So we graphed them in the last lesson, but now we're solving them by substitution. The answer is the point where the graphs would cross. So it's just different ways of solving the same types of problems. So here are the steps. Okay, so make sure you know those. Solve one equation for one of the variables. So you need to know to do that in order to start. It doesn't matter which one you start with. It could be x, it could be y, or whatever the variables are. Then substitute this in. So these will make more sense. So read these and memorize these as I go through this. So let's look at the first example. So what I want to do is it says, if necessary, solve the equation for one of the variables. So I kind of made a my notes here, steps kind of small so you can see them as we're doing them. So I'm going to do the first one. And I already have that. I already have y equals. Okay, so the first step is done. So the next is substitute this result. Okay, so I'm going to take what y equals, substitute it in the other equation for y. So everything gets written the exact same way. Excuse me. Only instead of y, you put 2x plus 1. So there's the substitution right there. So from there you can solve. So I have 5x plus 1 is equal to negative 9. So I can solve there. So 5x is equal to negative 10. Divide by 5, so x is negative 2. So once you determine that x is negative 2, you're going to do step 3, substitute this result back into the other equation. So y equals 2, negative 2 plus 1. So I substituted x, and then I solve for y. So a lot of substitution. Write your answer as an ordered pair. Of course, x comes first, and there I have it. Make sure you put lots of annotations. You know where these numbers come from. Okay, let's look at the next one. So we go through. I want to solve one of the equations. I already have y equals. So I'm going to put it in here for y. Okay, this is one you need to pay attention to. If I put it in there, make sure you put it in with parentheses in this case. It really needs it because I have to do distributive property. The 3 stays. So make sure you look at that. The 3 stays. I put it in parentheses because now I must do distributive property. So I'm going to add 18 and combine those. So 17x is equal to 17. So x is 1. So I'm going to take x, put it back in that one, 4x. So y is equal to 4. So again, I put it in parentheses so I can multiply it. so it's negative 2. And then a reminder, two things. First, write your answer as an ordered pair if it's x and y. So in this case, my answer is 1, negative 2. The other is, make sure you know this is the point where they would cross. So if I were to graph these, this is the point where those two lines would cross. So it looks like that. Okay, we'll try one more, and we'll just do number 3. So I need to solve one of the equations. Now, it doesn't matter which one you do, but this one is the easiest because I have y by itself. So all I need to do is add 3x on both sides, and I have y is equal to 3x plus negative 13. So now I've solved for y. There's step 1. Now I'm going to substitute this in for y, and I'm going to remember that the 5 stays, and I'm going to put parentheses around this. So make sure you look and see where all this is coming from. Then do distributive property. I'm going to add 65, so then you can go ahead and solve like we've done before. And divide by 19, so x is equal to 4. Okay, so go back, annotate, make sure you know. So first thing I had to do was over here, I had to solve for y. I could have solved for x, it wouldn't matter, but since y is by itself, since it's 1, it's easier to solve. So I added 3x. Here's y. Substitute it in over here. I have to use parentheses for distributive property. Then I solve. Now I'm going to take x, which is 4. Now I'm going to put it in there. So y is equal to 3 times 4 plus negative 13. So y is equal to negative 1. Write your answer as an ordered pair. Remember, this is the point where they would cross if you were to graph those. Okay, so I recommend maybe going and looking at your homework, seeing if you have any questions. You can get started, that instead of sitting there and not knowing what to do, you can be in class, you can already have questions, you maybe can already have some of it done, so you can check and move ahead. So looking at that, if you're looking at the homework on 347, some things you might want to remember. On number 3, you're going to have to rearrange just like I had to do here. And you're also going to have to put parentheses. You'll also have to do the same thing on 5 and 6. So you have to rearrange, so you have to solve for one of them first, put it in parentheses, and then do distributive property. So 3, 5, and 6, you need to do that. And number 4 has an additional step. Instead of rearranging after that, you need to divide everything by the coefficient of either the y or the x. So on number 4, I recommend solving for x in the top equation, because dividing by 2 would be the easiest thing to do. So that might be one to try, so you can ask about when you get to class. Make sure you have annotations. Make sure you have all this done. Make sure you take the Edmodo quiz.